right now, dude?
I'm a pretty happy guy right
Woo,
now.
what a fight that was. What a fight. That was, in my opinion, one of the most technical and one of the finest performances in that division. That 135-pound division, to have a guy like you and Marlon go after it like that, that was a fucking great fight.
Thank you.
Really great fight. And you're like on top of it right now, man. It's really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty good, you know?
Yeah, for real.
Like, I've really been just plugging up some holes, like figuring some stuff out. I feel like I'm at the part in the martial arts journey where I've gotten really good at being a really good learner. Like, I can learn super fast and super efficiently now. And it's like big time paying off. Like, not only that, but I also, the space I was in before that Cheeto fight was unlike one that I feel like I've ever been in my life.
How so?
You know, have you read like a decent amount of sports psych books?
Yes.
Where they'll sometimes talk about how you're almost having this out of body experience where you're almost like floating above the court or the field or whatever. It was almost like that, except I wouldn't use the word like floating above, but I got to a space in that fight where I felt like all of the thoughts and all of the distracting things that sometimes happen in a fight were completely ignored, and this like higher being, better version, like best no thinker, just actor was running the show. Like, it's almost like I was watching the thing happen while I was in the fight, and there would be bits of me hopping in and being like, hey, throw this combination, hey, take a little bit more of a risk, hey, do this, and then that would get completely just watched, and this whoever was fighting that night that didn't even feel like me was the person that was fighting. It was fucking cool, man.
Wow.
It was cool, dude. It was like, you know, like a psychedelic experience feeling type of thing.
Really?
It was cool.
What do you attribute that to? How did you get to that mindset?
It's a lot of, you know, messing stuff up. Like, I remember the last time I was on was right after I had beaten Frankie. And I was in... It's just a bunch of different parts of the journey, and in that part of the journey, I was really in this space where if I could make myself more war, if I could make myself more angry, if I could make myself be up here, I would have success. That kind of stopped working a little bit after, like around the TJ fight, and then kind of during the Jan fight, and then definitely I tried to be that guy against Song, and it was like too much of a distracting feeling. Where now my mindset's going into the last fight, because it was such like a distracting feeling, just feeling like I have to get myself to a point of anger or upness before a fight where it just became distracting, where it was helpful before it became distracting in that Song fight. I bailed on that, and I just tried to be as mindful and as present as I possibly could. For like, and I know that those are like kind of corny words now, but there is some real substance to them when they're like really done well. And I would say maybe about 6 weeks before the fight, I had this moment where I was sitting on the couch because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I want to be a world champ real bad. Where I was to the point where I wasn't enjoying any part of the camp, any part of the experience of fighting or anything. And I was sitting on the couch, and I just like, I think I was crying a little bit, and I was like, I can't fucking do this for the next 5 years of my life, you know, like I can't do this for the rest of my career. And I was like, well, what's got to change? And I was like, I got to take this pressure off of me, and I got to start enjoying every day a lot more than I am right now. And from that, like 6 weeks before the fight, I started doing that, and I really think that carried into the fight, and it made me be a lot less tense, a lot less tight, and it made me be able to fight with just like a completely free way of being.
Wow. And is this something that you had previously thought that you could get to that space or wanted to get to that space? Or is this something that you kind of experimented along the way and found this path?
I'm a self-learner. And I think that I think that there's ways of being in life that like you just kind of have to be at certain times. Like when you're a young kid, like you have to be like going and hitting it hard. Like you have to remember all of the hundreds of thousands of people on the other half of the world that are trying to accomplish the same goal as you. And you have to be a little bit, in my opinion, you have to be a little bit on the neurotic side of like, am I doing every single thing correct? Am I putting the right amount of pressure on me? That's totally a part of the journey, but I'm kind of more in the part of the journey where I've matured a lot as a fighter. I've matured a lot as a person. I'm getting married this year. Like I'm a little bit older. We're looking at kids probably in the next couple of years. And so I had to start thinking like, what's sustainable? Like what's like a sustainable way to continue doing what I love, but also becoming like a more mature adult. And that's just part of the journey that I'm in right now. And I don't think that anything was wrong with the way that I was doing before, but it just is like a moving target all the time. You know?
So it's like you're just finding new ways to approach it and then realizing this way's better than the other way. Even though the other way was effective, this is even more effective. So you're constantly trying to tweak it.
Yeah, and I think that everything kind of has its purpose. Like in those times where I was really embracing this like war mentality, this like very like bloodthirsty, vicious type of fighter that I was trying to be when I would go into the cage, that totally had its place because I had to experience what I thought that had to feel like in order for me to be the best martial artist that I can, because I do feel like I've pointed all of my energy in my life and my mind and my spirit and everything towards the direction of being the best martial artist that I can be. And so going through that had its purpose, man. Like I had to figure out what it was like for me to be like a vicious killer, you know, because in society that's like not cool, you know. So
right.
Like almost like the shadow self or whatever is like the subconscious term for it. I had to like experience that. I experienced it. I figured out that it was no longer serving me. It was being distracting. So what do I need to do now? Now it's like, okay, you figured that part out. You can be that guy whenever you want to be that guy, but now we're being present. Now we're enjoying it. And you don't really need to be that guy until you walk into the cage. And even when you do walk into the cage, you don't need to be this like really dramatic, super emphasized, like vicious guy. Like be that guy, but you don't have to overdo it. And when you're learning something, I almost feel like you have to completely overdo it in order to learn like where that cutoff is. Like even in technique, like if you could do an arm bar and win every single time with an armbar, why would you ever stop doing arm bars?
Right.
It'd be stupid. So like you figure out how to like do something, way overdo it, figure out where the cutoff is and be like, okay, I can't do it in like those situations. You pull back, you figure out what situations you need to do it in, and then you move forward.
What was